I'm Carlos Henriquez, and today's topic is don't overcomplicate your retirement spreadsheets. At AdviceOne, we've worked with many people in the aerospace industry for the last 30 years. Some of the strongest minds, the strongest engineers, and every one of them builds their own spreadsheets. What we try to teach is to not overcomplicate them. There are so many variables that need to go into a retirement analysis, and we have to acknowledge we can't possibly get them all right. Let me tell you what we think a simple spreadsheet has. First, we need a starting point. How much do we have in retirement assets? Let's say you're at $1.5 million. Right now, you're 5 years away from retirement. What does that look like? How will the income change over the next 5 years? We need to apply a cost of living adjustment to your salaries. Next, we look at different rates of return as it applies to your overall retirement plan. Then there are decisions around when you start Social Security. When will your spouse start Social Security? What is the cost of living adjustment going to be on those numbers? If there are pensions, when do those start? Which option do you take? Maybe you're even considering doing some yellow badging for a while after you retire. And of course, we need an inflationary rate to apply to that retirement spending. Maybe our rate of return is 7%, juxtaposed with an inflation of 3.5%, meaning we need to achieve a real rate of return of 3.5% before taxes. See how many variables we have already? Let's take it a couple of steps further. You may retire to a lifestyle of $200,000 or $170,000 a year, but at a certain age, you are going to slow down. And we think that needs to be built into the analysis. So there's one more variable. At age 80 or age 85, while we still have our health, we're going to slow down and not spend our money like we did at 60 or 65. And then finally, medical insurance. If you're retired at 60, who's paying for medical until you go on Medicare? Let's get that into the spreadsheet. Then we have to add in the one-offs that are important to the family, like paying for a graduate degree, helping with a down payment on a house, or maybe paying for a wedding. Perhaps you want to pick up real estate for yourself, possibly on a beachfront. One of the variables we ask is to just stay away from taxes and determining whether an account is taxable or not taxable. For a lot of people, their largest asset is the 401k, and therefore the withdrawals from that account are largely going to be fully taxable. To simplify, we think you should operate the entire spreadsheet using gross numbers. Assume everything is going to be taxable. We've seen people try to break down, well, this account is tax deferred, but taxable later, but this account is in a Roth, and the Roth is not taxable, but we also have these accounts over here. They're subject to capital gains. And you end up with so much complication that you actually assume the complication helps. We can tell you it does not help. One thing we can promise you, because of all of the variables, when you're done, all of the numbers are going to be wrong. We can't possibly get them all right. We've been working on retirement spreadsheets for 30 years, and the numbers have to be wrong. The key is walking into the analysis knowing they're going to be wrong. Some programs out there that say, well, if you run it 1 million times and we look at all the variables, we'll create accuracy. Some of you may have done those Monte Carlo simulations. We don't believe in any of that. We believe Monte Carlo simulation was invented by the mutual fund industry to scare you out of taking withdrawals. And even in 1 million iterations, Monte Carlo can't possibly predict things like COVID or nuclear bombs. If something happens that's catastrophic to the world, we don't think you're going to be able to spend $250,000 a year. European travel, quite possibly, will be off the table. With that catastrophe, travel expense would become greatly reduced, not factored into a Monte Carlo simulation. The most important thing is to keep it very simple, be succinct, get right to the point, and use gross numbers. Thank you for listening, and I hope you found this helpful.